What if everything we currently enjoy were to vanish from the surface of the Earth in just a few years? Where would life go? In today's movie recap, let's explore how anyone would survive when the atmosphere changes to low oxygen levels. In 2050, when contaminated air doesn't allow humans to breathe, some rich corporations will design glass air domes. However, only the rich could afford it, and the rest of humanity vanished from the Earth. While some experts are working in space to nullify the infection and make the Earth worth reliving, a girl named Wagner is roaming around in space, ready to find a signal from the Rubicon. Wagner and the chemist are sent to Rubicon as crew members because they are conducting research on possible living conditions for humans. Hence, they are advised to connect to its portal, but some errors from the Rubicon's team pop up in the system. They can't have any visual pictures of the Rubicon, and suddenly, a huge wing passes so close to their mini-ship. Luckily, Wagner uses a sharp turn and rescues himself by an inch. In the meantime, target the hook and land at the exact position by controlling the speed and navigating it correctly. Commander Jansen is worried that a soldier has been sent to their spacecraft because he notices the chip behind her ear. Although they welcome the addition of their crew members, Wagner asks about the accident just before. Tracy is asked to make a report on what happened. Gavin is welcomed as the chemist, and there's another doctor on the board who is working on algae cultures. Wagner Skyped the only family left on Earth, which was her sister, who is also working in the army. Hence, the crew shares the table for drinks and talks about future plans. Gavin is being mocked for his work as a chemist by a member, but Wagner holds the situation maturely. It has also been revealed that 3 new members are expected on Friday because more people should be here to work on research. Therefore, the old crew members from Jansen's team have to leave for Earth for a mission. Also, they learn that their route has been changed due to an anonymous fog appearing on the surface of the Earth. He freaks out about the safety of his friends and searches the internet for any type of information, but in vain. Wagner is commanded to prepare the algae cultures soon and leave for Earth, but the protocols are difficult to breach. But as she has been instructed by her authorities, named Nebra, she sneaks into the lab. As soon as she could find anything valuable, the doctor hoped for it and warned her. An urgent notification reveals that Jansen's team is unable to connect to the Earth stations, and they have to land unaided. Wagner also tries to connect, but nothing works. Therefore, she dresses herself up in a spacesuit and moves out to check on the optical unit. However, soon, it was realized that their ship had been heating up uncontrollably. Their shells burst, and they lose their lives in the middle of space. This is so traumatic for the 3 of them, but Wagner is even more worried about the dusty fog, which is more apparent from the optical unit. 2 days of mourning and grief, and no progress yet. The doctor locks himself in the room without eating anything because he has lost his son on the team. Gavin is continuously looking for any signal from Nebra or anyone from Earth. Finally, after 2 days, a notification beeps on the screen, and Gavin encloses himself in a glass room. He just bombards him with a high amount of poison in a suicidal attempt, but luckily, Wagner is watching him from the cameras. The doctor and she rush to rescue him, but the door takes a long time to open. Finally, they succeeded in moving him out with CPR and some breathing exercises, and they managed to save his life. However, the doctor does not seem motivated to take care of him because he learns that Wagner is spying on his algae cultures. She refuses to spy, but she only considers Nebra's commands. But the doctor still seems angry. Hence, Gavin freaks out after waking up because he can't handle the trauma of losing his teammates. Also, he is convinced that they can't survive here for long, but the doctor reveals that he has some advanced algae cultures prepared already. Therefore, they can survive here, but Wagner is worried about her sister on Earth. Therefore, she has prepared an antique iOS communication system that is still at risk of failing to work, but the doctor is impressed by her efforts, and he can help. So, he guides her throughout the optical unit's adventure. She is back on the ship with some hope of connecting to the Earth, but nothing works. She suspects that her sister is dead because everything interrupts the end of life on Earth. Not even the rich can handle the dusty fog that covers every part of it. She sobs in pain, but the doctor calms her. Gavin wakes up and explains that the fog is a chemical reaction of the Earth's industrial chemicals, which they have been producing for years for economic purposes. The chemists warn humans to stop using so many chemicals, but they never listen. Now, the chemicals react with the gases and end their lives. The doctor gives him good news about the algae cultures for surviving, but he doesn't want to live in this tin can. The doctor also explains that if he ever chooses to die again, he'll kill others too because the chambers are designed to accommodate 6 people. Therefore, if any one of them dies, they'll all die because they need CO2 from each other to breathe oxygen. He agrees to never commit such acts in the future. Wagner and Gavin get close to each other while talking about their lives. They wish to spend their pasts partying and clubbing because they still couldn't find another planet to live on, for which they spent their entire lives. They make love to each other and play games with the doctor to cope with the grief of losing friends and family. But the doctor is still working on algae cultures for humanity to ever survive. His mission is still on. The doctor has also become friends now, and he invites them to a movie night. After a few days of clubbing and partying, they again get to some real work when Wagner notices a beep. She gets a signal from Earth that about 300 survivors are still trapped under the bunkers. A lady informs them about the lack of oxygen and how fog killed most of the people. Gavin and Wagner are hopeful for the survivors, and they rush to the doctor for his algae cultures, but he says no because they don't have any equipment to land on Earth. However, they still want to do it and start a fight, but Wagner handles the situation. Hence, she is having morning sickness, and the doctor blood tests her cause. She tries to convince the doctor, but he's stubborn. Although Wagner is still hopeful that her sister could be alive, she wants to check her last location. Gavin is also supportive of land on Earth's decision, but the doctor finds another thing. He finds that the algae cultures have changed color, and this is because of Wagner's pee. She is pregnant, and the hormones endanger the algae cultures because they feed on their pee. Wagner's pregnancy just killed them because it nearly destroyed the cultures, but the doctor is hopeful for any further damage. Also, landing on Earth would kill her child because of the lack of resources. Still, she wants to land there because she doesn't want to endanger the lives of 300 people. Finally, the doctor agrees because he has no other option but to join them. They fill the bags with cultures and prepare for the landing, but the engines start extremely heating up. The ship will be destroyed if they don't terminate soon, but they have to do it manually. Gavin rushes to do it alone, but it is entirely a suicidal plan because the tankers are too hot to cool that early. Therefore, Wagner locks her in the cabin and aborts the mission by separating the chamber from the spaceship. Soon, the chamber will explode into pieces, and hence, they can't land on Earth now. Gavin is so frustrated and shouts to stop this explosion, but Wagner can't risk their lives. Gavin is angry, but Wagner tries to consolidate. However, he thinks that Wagner did that deliberately because of the baby, but she refuses to be selfish because of the baby. However, she was motivated to help the 300 people. Even though she also explains her actual mission about Icarus here. She was actually supposed to take the fully prepared mother algae cultures to Nebra's lab. However, she checked the default in the cooling system and found it unplugged. It means that the doctor does it on purpose, and she asks for an answer. He tries to sugarcoat his cowardice by considering it an accident. Although Wagner is furious, call him a selfish coward. She threatens to work on the ejection mission according to the Icarus mission, no matter how dangerous it is. She wants to try for these helpless people, even endangering the lives of all three. The doctor realizes her mention of the mission and reveals that he also knew about it at the time, but neither of them avoids mentioning it. But the doctor made her realize that the bunkers are the Nebras only. They knew the catastrophe was coming, but they didn't warn people and sent Wagner to get the algae cultures. It is true that they never cared for people and want the algae cultures now so desperately because they never wanted to waste the last surviving agent on some random people. Therefore, the bunkers are still desperate to get that. In addition, the lady from the bunkers informs them that the soldiers take them to the bunkers carefully. There are some children also with them, but Wagner wants to talk to a soldier before ejaculating. However, no soldier is alive because the bunkers let them die outside as they had less oxygen to accommodate them. Wagner is also a soldier, so she feels for them and refuses to help them. Gavin resists and still tries to convince her, but she prioritizes her child over others. She feels like she is gaining nothing in return for serving Nebra all her life. So she ripped out the chip from the back of her ear, which represents her Nebra association. She wants her life back, but Gavin locks her in the room and starts the process. Hence, she has to join even though she doesn't want to. She waits for a bit, and then a revolt of revenge triggers, and she takes out the main engine from the chamber. She stops the process, even though Gavin tries really hard to stop her. Only Wagner knows how to fix the engine, but she refuses to do it. She doesn't want to land on Earth at all and help the liars. She wants to live for herself for once, but Gavin doesn't support the idea. A few days later, Gavin commits suicide again in the same locked room through the bombardment of poisonous gases. Wagner rushes to save his life, but it's too late this time. She can't open the door on time, and he dies. She sobs in pain and disappointment. The doctor also realizes her grief and activates the system to terminate his body in space. They let him float somewhere in space for as long as he could. Wagner has now agreed to land on Earth because they need 3 breathers here. She asks the doctor to help her fix the engine to reprocess the ejaculation. Wagner realizes that he committed suicide because he was worried about his baby. He sacrifices himself so the baby can breathe here. The doctor freaks out to hear this because he said that just because he wanted to stop him from self-harming. They are both submerged in grief and disappointment, but all they can do is watch his body floating in space. A few years later, Wagner's daughter is seen on the ship playing with her mother and the doctor. Wagner gives her daughter a life away from liars and traitors in these enclosed chambers. Although she is happy and content, her daughter is always looking for possibilities. Surprisingly, she talks to survivors on Earth on the north side. They call for help, and they survive because the Earth is now back to its living conditions. The fog has disappeared, and it is greener now from the upper vision.